that, Jimmy, let's talk about some football. Let's talk about a little bit of NFL football.
Let's do it.
Woo! We had things we were thinking about talking about this morning. We had a list. You sent it out early. We were talking through it, trying to decide what we're going to go with. And then a bombshell hits us. The NFL trading deadline's coming up. Mm-hmm. And the LA Rams decided that they are all the way in. Now, of course, the Rams have always been all the way in because if you've noticed, and I'll talk about this in a bit, the Rams, they had draft picks in a while. And this year coming up, it ain't no different. But they decided that they're going to go ahead and get all-pro defensive end. So they traded with the Denver Broncos. The Rams send a second and a third round pick, and they'll receive Von Miller to go on that defensive line right next to your boy Aaron Donald and all the other monsters on the defense. And to make it even easier for the Rams to do this, the Broncos are paying $9 million of the $9.7 million that is due to Von Miller. So the Rams are only on the hook for $700,000 this season. And the best part is Von Miller is a free agent after this year. So, Jimmy, because of the magnitude of this move,
yes,
is it fair to say that the Rams are headed to the Super Bowl?
It is completely unfair to say that they're headed to the Super Bowl. I love, my late father's favorite team was the Rams, so I love seeing this. I always think of Von Miller as he's kind of a hybrid defensive end linebacker. I always think of him as a linebacker. And one of the things that I've said on the show repeatedly is that for defense to be great, you need a great player at every level of your defense.
Yes.
So on this team, you have Aaron Donald on the line. You have Von Miller who can flex out to linebacker when they want him to.
It's true.
And then you have, obviously, Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in the game, or maybe the second best cornerback in the game. Diggs has something to say about that in your secondary. So I love this. I love what they've done on offense. They have that one somewhat of a bad loss to the Cardinals, even though the Cardinals at the time were undefeated, so it may not be a bad loss.
Yeah.
You have Stafford. You have the right coach. You're in L.A. They have everything they need in order to get there. But there's just one thing that bothers me about this team that doesn't regular season bother me, but playoff bothers me. And that's this. In order for the Rams to get to the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford and that team is going to probably have to get through at least one or two of these quarterbacks. They're going to have to get through Tom Brady, the GOAT, defending champs, or Aaron Rodgers, or Aaron Wick, as apparently he has become now based upon his Halloween
very good
costume.
point.
Yeah. So all things being equal, if they get to the playoffs and it's Matthew Stafford against one of those quarterbacks, I'm taking Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady over him every single time. So for that reason, because who he's most likely going to run into as things stand now, I cannot take him over one of those two teams or over one of those two quarterbacks. Therefore, I cannot say that it's fair that this move puts them into the Super Bowl. Maybe the NFC Championship, but the Super Bowl, I cannot put them past those two teams.
I am in total agreement with you on this.
Correct.
I have the Rams going to the NFC Championship game, playing against my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because I have the Rams having the number one seed, which they have zero excuse to even not have the number one seed this season, and going against Tampa and losing in the playoffs, as most people do in the playoffs when it comes to Tom Brady, because you never bet against Tom Brady.
Right.
Now, the question is, will they meet? I don't know. Based upon the way things are lining up, there's a chance they may not. But for the most part, I think that they're going to see each other later on in the playoffs, especially after Tampa Bay had that really bad, in theory, bad loss to the Saints. But it's a rivalry game, beard, mustache, bull. Anyway, I don't think that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I think they can get deep. And this is the reason why. They have a top 4 defense. They have a top 4 offense. They are the third-rated team in DVOA this season, up before this week even passed. Adding Von Miller, to me, doesn't fix a problem that the team actually has. Because if you want me to be honest, I think they have only one problem, is that Matt Stafford doesn't have any playoff wins. Well, many. He has, one? I think he has one.
Something like that, yeah.
I think he has one playoff win, and that's it. It's just that Matt Stafford does not have playoff experience. No shade to Matt. Not saying that he's going to be awful in the playoffs. It's just that he ain't really been. We haven't really got to see him under that type of pressure, except for the one season that Caldwell got him there with the Detroit Lions. So it's not that they can't. I told this to boy Boise Z. I told him this. If the Rams don't win the Super Bowl, it's because of Matt Stafford. The only reason why. Everything's in his hands. Now, the other problem they could have is their running game is a little pedestrian.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Daryl Henderson.
Cam Akers is gone. You got Daryl Henderson, who I think
solid.
He's solid.
He's fantasy solid.
Yes, he'll give you fantasy numbers, but he's not dominant enough. People aren't afraid of him.
Right.
Now, defenses are terrified of Cooper Kupp. They're definitely terrified of Woods, Robert Woods. Tyler Higbee's out there eating.
He's solid.
They offensively, they got it, and their line is actually pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's going to be about the decision making of Matt Stafford in a lot of pressure. And as long as they have home field throughout it, I think they'll be fine. But at the same time, like I said, the only problem I have is that I've learned a lesson, a very valuable lesson, is don't bet against Tom Brady. Just don't. Just don't when it comes to this, because every time I've taken an L.
Okay, so all right, so I raised you the Packers and the Buccaneers, and how's that work? Never really played poker, so this didn't work out. I see you this?
Yeah,
I raised
you see
this?
exactly.
Okay, so I see you the Packers and the Bucs
player, obviously.
at all. I need to learn one day, and I raised you the Dallas Cowboys. If Matthew Stafford and this team came up against the Cowboys with a healthy Dak in the playoffs, would you even take them above them? Because I can't even say that I would do that.
No, and my apologies. Stafford has not won a playoff game. He's taken an L. He lost to the Saints in 11. He lost to the Cowboys in 14. God, he's the one that lost to the Cowboys. Oh, my God.
When was the last time the Lions won a playoff game?
That's a good question, Jimmy.
Is that Wayne Fonts and Barry Sanders? Is that the last time?
It feels like it. I think they had to have one before that. But, yeah, it feels like it. But
okay.
And then, of course, they lost in 17 to the Seattle Seahawks. They lost all of them on the road. Stafford's going to have home field. So that's going to be the good thing for him going up into the Super Bowl. I just don't know what he's going to produce for us in the playoffs yet. I just don't know. As long as because there's no reason why the defense can't do everything. Jalen Ramsey's a monster. Aaron Donald is not even a human being. And then you add Von Miller to the mix, like you said, he could drop back to linebacker and do the pass rush.
And he's a really good leader as well.
Exactly. So they've got 3 levels of dominance potentially if they need it. So
okay, so why are we putting only Matthew Stafford on the hook? Why not his coach, Sean McVay?
Because Sean McVay's been to a Super Bowl.
So for that reason. For that reason.
His quarterback was Jared Goff, and he got a Super Bowl. Y'all have seen what Jared Goff looks like this season. I mean, I'm sorry, Jared, but we've seen you synced you this season. Either it's the Lions are just that awful and Matt Stafford propped them up, or you're awful. It's one of the two, and we don't know. Your coach has already called you out. So I feel bad for him in that capacity. He's already said that we need Jared to step up. Well, Jared can't step up because if he steps up in the pocket, he gets hit.
Yes.
So there's a difference maker there. But I don't know. I still know Stafford in the playoffs yet. And it's not because I don't like Matt Stafford. I don't like to put faith in players like that I haven't seen actually give me the one thing that I haven't seen from him in the 9 years of his career, which is one playoff win. Now, he's had some solid performances. He wasn't awful in these games, but he threw 2 picks against the Saints, which in 2012, the 2011 season, 12, their defense was really solid. Dallas, he was okay, threw for 323 and a touchdown, but then against Seattle, he had 205 and no touchdowns on 32 attempts and 56% completion.
I mean, I think in addition to this, there is a universe where he goes into this game after a really good season, and hopefully he does win the MVP like we predicted.
Yep.
That he goes into a playoff game against one of these teams, plays well, but it's just that those quarterbacks are just better than him.
Yeah.
And so it's possible that they could go into this, everything could be clicking, just about everything they need to happen for them to win a playoff game happens, and they still lose. And then it's really no one's fault.
And honestly, if Arizona is healthy, because for the MVP talk, Matt's the front runner now.
Yes.
Kyler's out.
Yes.
And we'll talk about him later. Same thing with Derrick Henry. So most of your MVP candidates are kind of falling down the line besides Tom Brady. Stafford has no excuse not to win it now. Like, Cooper Kupp is unreal right now, like I mentioned. So he should be able to get that. The question is going to be, is this going to be sustainable into the playoffs? And that's really the only question.